Welcome to Profiles in Quality, an interview program with the leading names in quality management. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief of Quality Digest, and your host for this episode. On a recent trip to the Northeast, I had the opportunity to sit down with Christopher Vasconcelos, Mechanical Engineering Technology Instructor at the New England Institute of Technology in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Chris and I sat down at Hexagon Metrology's beautiful Precision Center in North Kingstown, just a few miles away from the New England Tech campus. In this interview, Chris and I spoke about technology, training, and the evolving partnership between industry and educational institutions in creating the metrology professionals of tomorrow. Well, Chris, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
So what is it, Chris, that you teach at New England Institute of Technology?
I teach mechanical engineering technology courses, everything geared towards product design and design for assembly. One of the 10-week courses that we teach at the college is metrology. It's a course completely surrounding metrology, all aspects of quality control and quality assurance.
Okay. And what specifically do you cover? I mean,
well, the first 5 weeks of the course we cover the basics. Students coming into the course may have heard of a micrometer, but they have never used one. So I go over the basics as to how to use a micrometer, how to use a dial caliper and a vernier, and when to use which instrument depending on the features that they're measuring or what they're measuring.
And I'm assuming some of these students have never even seen a micrometer.
Some of these students have never seen a micrometer. So, whether they know how to read one or not, I go over how to read one. They each get a micrometer and a dial caliper. Fortunate for us, Hexagon Metrology has donated a lot of the instruments that the students currently use in the program. So they're great. We talk about calibration, and some of the students even go out and buy their own.
So coming into the course, if students have any knowledge of metrology at all, what level of interest do they have? I mean, are they interested in working in metrology, or is it more just it's some information I need in order to do some other job?
Right. A lot of them think that that's what it is. It's, hey, this is just another course. Let's get out of the way and move on to the next one. But from what I like to do is use personal experiences and say, listen, mechanical engineering isn't just sitting behind a computer and crunching numbers all day. Some of you might have to wear different hats and and do whatever it is that you're asked to do. And one of those might be go to visit the customer. His machine is broken down. We need to duplicate some of those parts, and you may be asked to measure those parts, transfer that information into a CAD system so that it can be manufactured.
I'm assuming, so part of what you're teaching them is that metrology isn't just a metrologist working in some sort of lab, that
right.
No matter where you work in industry, if it's mechanical in nature, at some point you're going to need to know, if you're not going to take measurements yourself, you're going to at least need to understand what measurement is all about, so it makes sense what you're seeing when you're interacting with a customer. Do I kind of have that right?
Yeah, and and I try and tell them that not all of you will like metrology. I said, but and some of you might think, well, hey, I don't. This isn't what I want to do. But whether you like it or not, it's there in all aspects of manufacturing and engineering. It's quality. It's behind everything.
All teachers have that aha moment where they're working with their students and all of a sudden you see that students begin to start to click on what's happening. What is the nature of those aha moments that you see?
Specifically in the metrology class, it's when the students finally get to use the Global Classic CMM. They're shown the CMM, they're explained what it is, but they don't get to touch it until about week 5. And when they start seeing the capabilities of what that machine can do, that's when they get an aha moment. Wow, this thing is great. I have them take some manually measured parts that they measure themselves,
okay,
and they measure the same parts using the CMM, and they can really see the difference in precision. Not just in their measurements, but what the machine gives them. Yeah, really cool.
What about where the same student or multiple students are measuring the same thing, and probably there's this mindset, I'm going to measure this, and Frank's going to measure this, and Mary's going to measure this, and we're all going to see the same thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, well, I guess we're not.
Right, and it was a couple of weeks back where I had 12 students. I gave them a 0 to 1 inch. A couple of weeks ago, I gave 12 students a 0 to 1 inch micrometer, and I had them each measure the same exact part. and then I had them all call out the numbers that they measured, and they were all different. There wasn't one number that was the same.
Yeah.
And the micrometers were calibrated, the parts were cleaned, and it just goes to show that just because you think you know how to read a micrometer, you know, knowing how to use one is completely different.
Now, is that an important part of the course, is that the students, once they leave the course, have at least a basic understanding of how to set up and take a measurement properly and interpret the results properly?
Yes, just because they're not all going to be going into that field, it's something that they have to know. Not everybody uses calculus when they leave college, but it's definitely something that everybody needs to know, especially in the mechanical engineering field.
Now, do you ever have students come in who maybe their father was a machinist or something like that, and they think they know, maybe they've used a micrometer all their life because working with their dad or whatever, right, and they come in thinking they know exactly what they're doing, and all of a sudden they're finding out that, whoa, I've really been doing this all wrong.
Exactly. I have a few students who are like that, who follow in their parents' footsteps, and they'll bring in their parents' measuring tools, or an old micrometer, an old dial caliper, and you know, they'll bring it in, and they'll be interested to learn a little bit more about it. You know, and some of them know the basics, but what I try to do is teach them a little bit of everything.
You told me earlier that this is part of an associate's degree in mechanical engineering technology?
Correct.
Is that right? So
Correct.
Is there a big need for that in this area? I mean, why is this degree even around?
There is a demand for engineering technologists. You know, specifically in our area. Last time I checked, I think it was Hexagon Metrology has hired 8 to 9 of our students. Okay. And they tell us, your students are being taught what we need. They're being taught the skills that we need. They're sending our students, our grads, out to their customers to build and set up CMMs. And they tell us flat out, whatever you're doing right.
Okay, and you've mentioned Hexagon Metrology. Is industry in general supporting what you are doing there at the Institute? Obviously Hexagon is, but
right.
do you get support from other companies as
right.
well that just saying, man, we need people, and here's some resources to get it done?
Right. You mentioned earlier about aha moments with the students. I get aha moments when I get an email from a company that has hired one of our students and has nothing but nice things to say.
Okay.
And that happens quite frequently. And it's nice. It's nice to know that our grads are going out there and fulfilling you know, the needs.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, so job market. Yeah. I mean, is there a lack of people trained in the skills that you're giving them, so that when they graduate from a place like your institute, yeah, is there really an open job market for them? I mean, is there a lack of just skilled people out there?
You know, that's a tough question to answer. You know, a lot of these students, when they graduate, they don't have the experience, you know, that some
companies might want.
That
yeah.
some companies might want, but the little edge that we give them is the hands-on experience. So I could sit there for 10 weeks and talk about how to use a CMM, how to use the software, how to read a micrometer, but unless they actually physically do it, you know, I don't think it's going to be beneficial for any employer.
Is internships part of what you guys set up?
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of times they'll hire one of our students, you know, and the nice thing is they get to come to us and say, listen, we need 3 of your best. Okay. You know, which really gives our students something to shoot for. I mean, make sure your GPA is you know, is where it's supposed to be, and you know, you're not guaranteed a job, but you definitely get your foot in the door.
What industries are your students going into mostly, would you say?
Lately, there's been a lot of CAD design, computer-aided design and drafting courses, some entry-level machining / designing. You know, Hexagon Metrology, like I said, has hired a few of our students for on-the-job training for customers, for machine building, troubleshooting, not just desk jobs. You know, okay. Our students get to wear a lot of hats, and I think what that does is it increases their level of getting a job pretty much wherever they want.
So from your perspective as an educational institution that is feeding students into this market, have you seen a growth in this need, or is it leveling off? And I guess what I'm wondering is kind of from industry, what we hear from, from let's say the aerospace industry is that, man, we're running out of metrologists. I mean, the older guys are retiring, and we're not bringing in anybody who's skilled. And so it would seem to me that it should be opening up, that you should be seeing more and more need and more requests from educational institutions for feeding into that. Is that been your experience? Are you seeing that, or is it fairly level? Or?
No, I would say from what I've seen, and I haven't been there a while, it's fairly level.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say it's fairly level.
So there's a need out there, but not necessarily not anything that's going through the roof or anything
correct,
like that. Okay.
Yeah, and and I think part of that problem is a lot of students just aren't aware that those jobs are available.
That was my next question. So these students are coming in and they're thinking I'm going to get an associate's degree in mechanical engineering technology. Does it just sound like a sexy term, or do they really understand what the jobs are specifically out there in industry?
Right. Part of our job as instructors is to teach the students not only the material, but what they can do with it, where they could go. I mean, it's really up to them, and mechanical engineering technology as a whole isn't as narrow as other fields are. They get to really pick and choose their paths when they leave. So some of them choose CAD design, some of them choose hydraulics and pneumatics, let's say, and then some of them, they've got a knack for measuring things, and they go in that direction. But we just have to present it to them.
So what seems to be the sexy topic within your field when people come in and they've gone, oh well, the reason I'm in here is because I definitely want to go this direction because that's what's cool.
Yeah, a lot of our students love working with their hands.
Really?
They took their parents' lawnmower apart when they were children, and somewhere along the line someone suggested to them that they should be a mechanical engineer.
And they're actually going the engineering route.
And they're going the engineering route. A lot of them are great in math. They were whizzes at math, and they said, well, you know what, I like working with my hands, I'm good with math, it's a perfect fit. Okay. And oftentimes it is.
Well, Chris, thank you for taking the time to tell us about the associate's degree in mechanical engineering technology at New England Tech. And it sounds like you guys are doing a great job, and I really appreciate you got a young teacher in there that's generating some excitement for the students. Yep. That's pretty awesome.
Yep, getting the students excited is half the battle.
All right. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.